Alright, so I'm doing a second part to this video before I upload it. I made a couple of posts a while ago about my drum kit, but this is the first time I'm really putting it out there. This kit, still a work in progress, like everything. I think, like I said, I'll always be working on the first record. I'll always be working on my drum kits and guitars and all of that, but this kit, I don't know if you can hear in the background, there's a pixel grip. They're really interesting, three-person band from Chicago, and you can see on my snare there that I have a similar, if you ever watch that on KXP, that pixel grip performance, the drummer's pretty sick drummer. And you can see the glow tape on there, so you can see the hit zone, in the nightclub or whatever. I don't know if it's showing up that well. If I use my police light, you can see it better. But yeah, this is just, and talk about, Gothic religion. So this kit was assembled basically piece by piece, which is how I prefer to do things. And then this is, Shure SM mic, the legendary ones. That's been used on so many records. And then I've got a Digitalt drum machine here, which I can also record. I can record samples, so that's there's a lot of flexibility, and yeah, so it's just an amazing kit. What else can I say? Especially being in California, having a place where I can play live drums is everything. I honestly think that if I'd been able to have drums as a kid, it would have been life-saving. So it's a big difference having drums, but having drums when you live in Southern California, it's a very big difference. And I'm not talking about the Central Valley or any of that, but, I said the other day that Ferrari lover fans are I really don't like the term chosen one that's thrown around, because it's become cheapened, and it's, what's the point of a chosen one if, 100,000 people are thinking they're chosen? It's not like that. But Ferrari lover music really is for the chosen few who are really disciples of art and beauty, and because that's what I was. I had a spiritual master for many years, and as I said, I was initiated as a monk. I had really powerful I don't even want to call it an awakening. That's not really my style, but I've been through really gnarly, I'm talking about really brutal, and I was very athletic. I have that side to me I love to, I used to just run, but I also, as I said, 20 years ago, I managed to stop smoking nicotine, and I certainly don't, I stopped smoking weed, which weed has become very dangerous. When I was back in the day, I couldn't imagine why anyone would want to smoke weed. I remember my first year at Vassar, this girl was walking down the hallway making a complete fool of herself. And I remember thinking, oh, here's good old Wesley and Cold Cave. But then, shortly down the line, after I took some time off, I made my quote-unquote friends, who were really, stabbing me in the back, unfortunately. But, sometimes you got to know when to get rid of the wrong friends, because anyone who loves you is not going to sell you drugs. Obviously, compassionate medical care even is really hard to find these days. So God bless the doctors who actually are doing the Lord's work, because the vast majority of them are not. So I have no problem. I think it has its time and place, and I think if I had been able to have when I was able to use marijuana, have it legally, it was definitely a medicinal thing. I was self-medicating autism, ADHD, extreme sensitivity, depression. But I just put a warning out there because, anyway, what I'm saying is the first time I actually smoked weed from Long Beach, like White Widow, my connection was a good friend of mine for a period of time. And, it's not a lie. Snoop Dogg is 100% involved in the drug thing, and he doesn't hide it. He famously said once, if you took a party of like 200 kids and you gave half of them a joint and the other half alcohol, the half that you gave a bunch of alcohol to would be starting a fight, getting the cops involved, beating each other up, and the half that smoked the weed would be, just getting along. That was my experience with really, I don't know why I'm bringing it up. I guess my real addiction is music. And my mentor always used to say, if you're going to be addicted to anything, be addicted to God. And that's a very true thing. And the way I was initiated, I was working on art projects, and I was taught, what really saved my life was to have an elder say to me, literally, like, flat out, you are meant to be a musician. I remember we were literally out at IHOP. It was a few disciples, me. It was literally like 3 or 4 of us and our spiritual master, whatever. Very non-traditional, but very much like, if you look up, I'll link it below, the sensei scene in the Karate Kid. But yeah, that was the first time. That was after like 3 years solid of like really, really intense. It's called tapasya in Sanskrit. It's a kind of a rigid austerity. Anyone who, like David Lynch, for instance, I'm not going to try to I have the authority to judge. Anyone who is charging you to give you a mantra for meditation is definitely not legit. And that's why, I work for God. And my path, like I said, at the IHOP, my mentor was like, you're meant to be a musician. That's your path in life. And if you've ever heard of the Akashic Records, which is the record of everything that ever was, is, or will be, there's a 3-part series documentary called Inner Worlds, Outer Worlds that I very much highly recommend. It basically synthesizes quantum physics, the history, all the way from Tesla, and I'm talking about the original Tesla. I think Tesla is rolling in his grave, the way Elon has bastardized his name. I'm not saying that he hasn't made any contribution to society, but yeah. Anyway, the way I was taught is you can't have a spiritual teacher who's making money off of you, who a true realized master is never going to ask you for money. But yeah, I traveled the world. I was restoring by hand tiles in old Eastern European buildings and doing really grueling, even when I was still not well, after my hardcore athlete years, I spent a lot of time traveling and doing selfless work. And, I learned, it's kind of like the book Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. So the drums for me is a very spiritual thing. And so is techno. But there's so much terrible, progressive techno. I think there's something and then there's that one, 9% of it, 7% of it that's just genius. So I'm working on a mix as we speak. And so yeah, it was actually in 2009, shortly before I had this awakening, or I'm not going to call it the nirvana experience. And it was a God realization moment. But I have not, ever since that time, I've gone through a lot of really grueling, gnarly things. So it's not ultimately, the goal is, the teaching is that when a realized master passes on, they just merge with God. But I needed that. I needed that understanding that essentially God is the creator. So there's nothing more powerful than being a creative. And the way I was taught is that when you are creating, you are closest to God. And that a true meditator, having been initiated into a school of meditation, is always meditating regardless of what they are doing. And the rule was 10 minutes in the day and 10 minutes at night, in the morning and night, and without fail, and at least a half an hour of hatha yoga every day, which is pretty hard to do when you've got really gnarly chronic fatigue and chronic pain issues. But anyway, I did study with a master around the world, living in ashrams around the world. And I was never going to talk about it, but it just kind of happened because I think society needs to hear from people like me. And in a way, this is like it's almost like if you think of synthesis, the art of working with a synthesizer, subtractive synthesis, additive synthesis, and that's basically what I'm doing in these videos. It's almost like you can almost feel it if you pause and you feel the energy. You can feel music. The music of the sphere is manifesting as I talk about it. Let's see. I've got a project guitar here. I did a video on that. Again, I'm also a student of design, modern design. There's that famous song, Lazy by Suede. It's a great poster. And sadly, I lost a couple of really rare suede posters that I had. But I'm going to go over here because I'm not going to play it too loud. Like I mentioned, Pixel Grip. This is a Pixel Grip record. And that's how I would describe it. It's like meditating is almost in a way like the beats can be completely off. And this is the traditional way I learned DJing on vinyl. But right now I'm kind of keeping it just mellow. If you get real mellow, you don't even have to have the tracks in sync, because I wouldn't be able to film with one hand and make it all perfect. But having sacred music in the house, the meditation, a lot of the monks in the Buddhist monasteries that I went to, and there's a really cool one in Little Tokyo actually, where I had a Buddhist monk come out and he met with me for like an hour. He gave me a special meditation bracelet with the beads on it. And so I've transcended beyond like repetition of mantra while meditating. And I used to do many hours a day when I was able to. But one of the things people get completely wrong is that you cannot actually teach true meditation. Once a disciple has become initiated, the divine energy, which is everything, it's in the sound of my voice, it becomes activated and has its own intelligence. The Sanskrit word is kriya. So a kriya is, it's not just kriya yoga. A kriya is an automatic response to divine energy. It could be something that a disciple who's been initiated, like you could all of a sudden feel like, hey, I need to drink like coffee all day long, or I have to learn the drums, for instance, or I really need to meditate. You'll actually be put into a meditation by the divine energy. And meditation is the practice of, it makes metta look like child's play, because a true meditator is observing their mind, the thoughts that are constantly arising, and you can't actually get in touch with what is really going on at all until you're able to tap into that, oftentimes for a lot of years of very intense meditating. And you can't force the experience of, for instance, closing your eyes and seeing blue or white light, Christ consciousness. Those things happen spontaneously. And a lot of years I spent really unwell. Still, one of my rules is that I don't talk about my health struggles on here, but I do have intense issues with that, and it's a lot harder to meditate. And people oftentimes, think about it, like start with 1 minute. It can be 1 minute can last forever. That's the original. It's a line from, I'm not going to give away the line from the Ferrari Lover song that I wrote, because at some point I'll probably release it. But yeah, so and it's also the art of subtlety and paying attention. Most people are not really paying attention. Shadow work, as Jung called it, is an absolute life and death errand, because as he said, the unconscious will continue to rule your life until you make it conscious. The issue is that a lot of society has become trapped there, and we don't really have the language to describe what meditation is, but it is everything. And if I had not been initiated and learned the skill of meditating, which I was very motivated to do, because once I had a nirvana experience for, like I said, approximately 3 days and 4 nights, I've never been the same. But yeah, as I said, when the physical body is feeling weak, it can feel a lot harder, but just as necessary to meditate. And my particular path, I actually, prior to this awakening, that's when I really started, I had this like sacred text, and I ripped out an ad from Premier Guitar with a bunch of guitar pedals on it. I still remember the day I got the Premier Guitar issue, and it had the Chase Bliss Spectre. Actually, I have one of my Spectres right here. It was on the ad. So, as it has been famously said by me, there are a lot of people, doing shitty, mundane jobs when they should be, for instance, maybe a professional violinist. And so yeah, but it also, all of my music, that's why as you know, my record, 𝔬𝔲𝔬𝔬𝔡, is only on Bandcamp right now, and I have a copy on vinyl. I took it down because I didn't want people who had yet to discover me to think that I only do ambient music. But I started out improvising to sitar drones, tempura drones, and so I started out making all ambient music. If you know that record, the Chill Out record by the KLF, that's pretty legendary. So there's a lot of like dub techno as well. Like I did really hardcore years of studying instrumental and making instrumental music. So yeah, in fact, speaking of which, I'm just gonna wrap it up. This is just an incredibly gorgeous kit. You can see there's a whole special situation I have going on with the snare alone. It's got that brass finish, but yeah, I'm running out of batteries. And if you can guess this pedal, anyone who's a hardcore guitar fan, I'll give you a hint. It's a Maris pedal, very good for making ambient music. There's the old school Chase Bliss boxes. Oh yeah, so the kit is in progress, and you can literally feel the divine energy because of the decades of intention and meditating. And it's not like I just walked in and dropped a bunch of cash and walked out with it. The floor tom alone has its own very complex story, and there's slight variations. Yeah, this is, I don't know what else I'm feeling like saying. I'm just, as I said, I'm extremely tired. I've been working really hard. I just felt like it was an important time for me to actually talk a little bit about the kit, and maybe in the following videos I'll talk about each piece between, the bass drum, and we've got this incredible kick, concert toms, floor tom, and snare. And And I guess I'll leave it with this. It was my drum teacher in the very beginning who is the one who taught me the ultimate secret to tuning guitars so they always stay in tune. And you really have to tune a guitar the same way you tune drums. And for people who don't know, you could literally get infinite sounds out of a drum. It's famously said, I'm a teacher of the drums, but I'll always be a student of the drums. If you know which sample on which record that line comes from, well, hats off to you. So it's we got the Ferrari Lover, Songs of Faith and Devotion, one of my favorite records of all time right there. But yeah, I'm just kind of flowing and riffing right now. I don't know how this little video is going to come together, but this is a work of art, and it's absolutely sacred, and there should be more people at least understanding this. I think the fate of society is depends on people becoming students of the subtle art of beauty, because that's where the real divinity is. It's not in a megachurch thing. It's not in a new age bullshit seminar. No offense, but Abraham Hicks doesn't really know what she's talking about, because unfortunately, and even Bashar, he's a pretty funny dude and he's cool, but all of these people, the countless metaphysical teachers and life coaches, they're all making a lot of money, and behind closed doors, I have seen firsthand people like a Thich Nhat Hanh type figure have a nervous breakdown backstage, and so I've been through all kinds of gnarly shit, and I have a legit story. I've had really severe depression from a very, very young age. I was having an existential crisis. So any spiritual sensei who tells you that you just somehow magically transcend your emotions, the reality is the emotions are sacred, and without art there is nothing. Check out the neon work by the British artist Tracy Emin. She's also a very intense business person. And the video artist Namjoon Paik, who is the father of modern video art, he's a Korean guy. So I'm gonna get back to playing a little bit, some drums and chilling, and trying to recuperate here. It's a bit of some thoughts on the drums. Acoustic drums for life. One shot for life. This is where, I get drum sounds for my music. And I do a lot of production in Ableton and Logic. So, alright, cheers.